Welcome to the channel. My name is Reni. I'm a pagan from the beautiful country of the Netherlands, and today we are talking about the Norse mythological world tree, Yggdrasil. Yeah, what he said. For those of you who don't know, Yggdrasil is the tree that connects all of the 9 worlds in Norse mythology. So if you read a tale in Norse mythology, it's always taking place somewhere connected to the world tree. We are connected to the world tree right now because we are on planet Earth, known as Midgard, the world of man. Up high, there's the palace of the gods, Asgard. Down is the realm of the dead, Helheim. And you have Jotunheim, the place of the giants. You have Vanaheim, the place of the Vanir. You have Muspelheim, land of fire and ice. And there are 9 worlds, and they are connected to the world tree. I think I had some insights about Yggdrasil that I would like to share, because the word Yggdrasil, I've been saying that a lot. I've been drumming and saying it. I've been walking in my garden and saying it. I've been doing ceremonies and screaming it. And it almost feels like Yggdrasil might be a place somewhere, but it's also inside of ourselves. In this episode, I will try to bring you along on my reasoning and make a very good case that Yggdrasil might actually be a metaphor for your own spine, your own energy system. Now, what did I find out? Well, I did some research, like a world tree. Does it exist in other traditions except for the Germanic and the Nordic? Yes, I found many world trees. The Cherokee Nation has a world tree, for instance. And all of these world trees, they're all basically legends of native tribes all over the world. And that's what Germanic and Nordic mythology is. It's just the native tales of the Northern European people. Because a lot of people who like Nordic mythology also really like the Native Americans. Well, you know, if you're looking for somebody native, you can look yourself into the mirror, because you are as native as they ever been. You know, they're as native as they will ever be, only if we've lost so much. So we must try to rekindle. But back to the world tree. Many traditions have a world tree, but I found one that was really peculiar. In the kabbalistic tradition, the Jewish tradition, they also have a world tree. Maybe we can put it there. And what is the kabbalistic world tree? Well, they are very honest and upfront when it comes to the kabbalistic world tree. They tell you that we have a physical body and a physical brain. And in order to understand the metaphysical, in order to understand the higher dimensions and the higher planes, we must put it in a physical metaphor. And that is what the kabbalistic world tree is. So the world tree in the Jewish tradition, they're very honest, is not really a tree. So what is it? It's a spiritual path. There are places that you can go inside of yourself. There are places that you need to walk and climb along the world tree to reach your highest potential. Well, if you have like the Jewish world tree here, and say we put the Nordic world tree in like a similar schematic, we can put it like in a kind of like a multi-dimensional dodecahedron kind of style. Now, if you put them together like this, they start to become really similar. They look really, really similar. And you can easily see the metaphor. You can see Asgard, the place of the gods. I mean, what are the gods? They are the highest potential that we can strive to. I mean, we are not gods, but part of us, there is a spark of divinity. It's also told in the Nordic myths, because we've been given life by Odin. He made us and he blew life into us. So we have that tiny part that is divine. So we can always strive for highest potential. And then you have Helheim, which you can see as the place of your subconscious fears. That's why it's Hela, and that's why there's death, because a lot of our fears have to do with death. Could be a physical death, could be a more spiritual death, the death of things that are known to you. You have Midgard, which you could see as, of course, the place of the physical body, the physical manifestation. You could see Vanaheim, the Vanir, as the place of balance, because Vanir, nature spirits, and like fire, ice, there's also things that live inside of us. If you have any more suggestions for the 9 worlds, feel free to let me know in the comments. So I think this is our first hint. Our first hint that the tree of life is inside of us. Because we have other traditions who tell us inside of us. Because like a lot of the Nordic myths were written down by Christians. Because all of this stuff was an oral tradition. And it's really starting to rain now. I'll keep going. So it was an oral tradition, so not a lot was written down. So it's nice to look at other traditions and maybe we can find something. That's what I did. So the Kabbalistic tree of life is our first hint. I have a second very important hint. What's the most well-known story about Yggdrasil, the world tree? I think we all know the story of a one-eyed god who hung for 9 days and 9 nights. Nobody came to give him food or drink. He hung there. He sacrificed himself to himself. And then he screamed and grasped the runes. That's how Odin got the runes. Now there's one sentence that always stuck out. He sacrificed himself to himself. I think firstly that references to some sort of shamanic initiation, which we can talk about it, but sacrificing yourself to yourself, if you are in fact in possession of the Yggdrasil in yourself, that means that if you hang yourself to Yggdrasil, that means you sacrifice yourself to yourself. So I think that's a second hint that Yggdrasil could be inside yourself, because then that sentence in that famous story makes perfect sense. Also, like I said, it's a shamanic initiation. Yeah, am I going to tell you, some guy on YouTube, that I understand completely what a shamanic initiation is? I always think that's a very arrogant stance to make, but I think I grasp at least some part of it. I think you do too. I think all of us inside somewhere knows what a shamanic initiation is, even though if we don't consciously realize what it is. Sometimes I feel this channel is just telling you what you already know deep inside of yourself. Sometimes it feels like I'm picking your pocket and then I'm giving you like something that you basically already had in your own pocket. Maybe that's a bit too negative. If you have traditions with these shamanic initiations, they're often difficult. Meaning that you have like a vision quest where you go in a sacred space for 4 days and 4 nights. You don't eat, you don't drink, and you just cry until your heart opens and the Great Spirit gives you a vision. There's this tradition where they do the sun dance, where they dance for 4 days and 4 nights around the pole with no food and no drink. In Indonesia, they have the tradition. Well, they don't do it anymore because they killed somebody. But the people in Indonesia are very afraid of the sea. The mountains are the gods and the sea are the demons, but also like floods and ancestral trauma. And they bury a guy under the sand in the sea, right? And they give him a little straw so he can breathe. And as he lies there, the ocean comes in and he feels the ocean coming further and further and further, the tide coming over his face, and he can't tell if his straw is long enough to keep him from breathing and surviving. Now what happens is, sacrificing yourself to yourself This self is your personality, your ego, which will fight and go, oh, I'm in the no, I need to get out. This is your higher self. This is your Asgard, and this is your Midgard. Kick your ass with Asgard and Midgard. And this, your personality, is in the way. And by continually making yourself go through these difficult ordeals, this personality learns to shut the F up and get out of your own way so you can get your highest potential. That, for a part, is what a shamanic initiation is about. So that is what that story is about. So he's sacrificing himself, sacrificing himself to the world tree. Okay. Funny thing, what I want to talk about. When you say Yggdrasil, it's kind of like something opens up inside of me. That's what gave me some hints that like Yggdrasil is inside of you. Why it's important to open up. I said this before in the channel. There are only two states that you can be in as a human. If you're like angry, sad, depressed, shameful, tearful, what usually happens is you close off. Because you think like, oh, you're ashamed, you close off because you have negative emotions. And when you feel happy, you know, you feel good, you feel loving, you are open. Close, open. And Yggdrasil is so important because if you see Yggdrasil as like kind of a tool for self-development, it means it can help you to stay connected with everything and to open. Because when you're ashamed, you're ashamed. But when you can open up and you say, yo, listen, I'm just really ashamed because like sometimes I want to kill my wife. I don't know, something you're ashamed of. What happens when you share that is the other person will 9 out of 10 times, 99 out of 100 times will say, yeah, I also have that same problem. And meaning that when you open up, you realize that your troubles aren't as bad as they think you are. So opening up and staying connected, staying Yggdrasil, is very important. What I want to talk about for the last part of this video is, well, Yggdrasil is connected to everything. But it goes even deeper. Because Yggdrasil has 3 wells, which are very rarely talked about on YouTube, for which it gets its substance. First, there's the well of Urt. Urt is one of the 3 Norns who weave our fate. Urt is the one that creates. It's the one that starts up. So Urt is a symbol for the past. The middle well is the well of Mimir. That is the famous well where Odin sacrificed his eye so he could drink from the well, so he could get the wisdom. I have to think. Urt, Mimir. Mimir is one of the wisest giants, by the way. And the third well is Helgelmir. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Helgelmir also has a dragon inside of it which gnaws at the roots of Yggdrasil. And that stands for destruction, but it also stands for the future. It implicates Ragnarok, which Ragnarok is, of course, kind of like the Nordic apocalypse. But it's something that will happen in all of our lives, meaning that we will all die, but it's part of the continuous cycle of life. So Yggdrasil is not only connected to everything, it's not. It's connected to every time. Meaning that basically it can never truly be destroyed because it's everything, it's everywhere, and it's every time. Now, if it's everywhere, everything, and every time, if it transcends all those things, can never be destroyed, it could very well be that it is in fact inside of us. If you agree with this theory, let me know. If you think I am borderline psychotic, type it in the comments. I thank you for sharing your time with me. I will get out of the rain before I'm soaking wet. And I'll see you all next week. Ga met de goden.